President Donald Trump wants to fire Jerome Powell. But who is Mr. Powell? Why does he matter? Jerome Powell, if you don't know, is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and he is the guy in control of the money printer. So should you be scared of this? No, this is actually good for your bags, whatever you're holding, stocks, crypto, especially crypto. But who is Jerome Powell? Why does everybody want him fired so bad? Why does Cynthia Lummis, the senator, and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, these real estate lenders, and now Trump, why do they want him fired? Let's watch this clip really quick, shall we?
It's got a long way to go. So are there things children can say to you today that would back off some of you?
Well, I'd love them to lower interest rate. Other than that, what?
That slap right there, that slap really said it all. You can see how nervous Jerome Powell is. And on top of just wanting him fired because he's not lowering the rates fast enough, he's also got this suspicious $2.5 billion spending bill on renovations for the Federal Reserve building, which seems pretty high for a government building, $2.5 billion. Now, would this even matter if the guy had already cut rates? Probably not. But because there's so much suspicion that he's not cutting rates due to political reasons, they're really investigating this guy and looking into what other stuff could he possibly be doing wrong or misallocating money. $2.5 billion to renovate, the building that you work in. It seems like a pretty high number. I'm not a real estate guy, but $2.5 billion, it's probably worth looking into. I just want to stop on this clip right here just because of the body language here. It's almost like Trump is bullying poor Powell. He's got a big job, but it also probably should lower the rates right now, just like China already has. The UK has already done it. It is suspicious why he hasn't done it. But I'm going to tell you why this is good for you to be able to position yourself before interest rates have been cut. You still have time to invest in altcoins like PulseChain, Hex, PulseX. You can build your position in these before the guy lowers the rates. The rates are like 4.5%. They could be as low as 2%. And we're going to look at this chart right here and see the problem of government debt, right? Government has a spending problem, and they take out so much debt that look between April 2021 and January 2025, we basically doubled or tripled the debt in 4 years. Okay, this is a parabolic, not good. Not a good line right here. And Trump is attacking Jerome Powell. And look, I don't see eye to eye with everything. Obviously, I disagree with the president. Nobody should take any individual as a saint, whether it's Trump or Richard Hart, or there's no hero that's perfect. Okay, no one's coming to save you. But Mr. Trump, he knows the economy. He knows basic economical stuff, which is lower interest rates, good. Lower interest rates mean economy pump, okay? So according to Bank of America, a 3.25% rate would stabilize all the interest that we're paying on the debt, and a 2% rate would cut the interest cost by $200 billion. Okay, right now we're at 4.5, which means it's only going up. We need to at least get to 3.25 to stabilize the interest that we're paying on the debt, which is just crazy. But we live in clown world, and lucky for you, you can buy little funny internet money, magic made up coins that can replace and build a parallel financial system that as it's all decaying, it's all crumbling, late stage capitalism, parallels to ancient Rome and devaluing the money. All governments are debasing the currency, and cryptocurrency is the life raft. And the newer ones pump harder because simply less people know about them, and they have lower liquidity, meaning if even a tiny couple of millions of dollars flows into PulseChain, for example, price would 100x. If like $50, $100 million came in, the price would make life-changing money. A net buy pressure. If $100 million goes into Bitcoin, well, that's barely a drop in the Bitcoin bucket because Bitcoin's been out for 15 years, and you're not early to Bitcoin. But Jerome Powell matters, okay, and I do agree here with Trump. Not on everything. Think for yourself, guys. But it kind of makes sense here. Okay, it's not only Trump, it's Scott Bessent, it's Cynthia Lummis, all these people. Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Wall Street Journal, here we've got him saying, too late Powell. He's going to fire too late Powell, the worst Federal Reserve chairman in history. And look, I don't hate this Powell guy. He's got a tough job, okay? But he should have probably lowered rates by now. Inflation's been down. And his excuse is that, we're not sure about the tariffs. The tariffs actually have been bringing in money. But he's blaming Trump's unpredictability as a reason not to, when a lot of other people suspect that he's politically motivated to try to make Trump look bad by not doing this when everybody else has already done this. And you got to take this tongue in cheek here. I know better than anybody what's good for the economy, what's good for the market in the USA. Of course, this is just Trump being Trump. People don't explain to me. I explain it to them. If it weren't for me, the market wouldn't be at record highs and probably would have crashed. Well, that's our president for you. But look, Mr. Jerome Powell is being investigated. And the U.S. inflation index is about 2%. And we've heard people like Scott Bessent, I think, saying maybe 2.5% might be acceptable in the future, right? They might just start deciding that now 3% is the acceptable interest rate. It's all just arbitrary. It's all just to give the illusion of control and confidence. And as long as the people think that things are predictable and they can be confident about something steady, which really the only thing you can predict is unpredictability. The only constant is change. But I think it's time. And let's consider the fact that Bitcoin's at new all-time highs. And Ethereum just pumped, 40% in a month before the Federal Reserve even lowered interest rates. So we're seeing some life in the markets. We definitely are seeing some life we've got a pretty good week here for the Hex and PulseChain ecosystem, up 20% across the board. I mean, Hex is up 36% over the last 7 days. Now, we're not out of the woods. Obviously, we're still very, very depressed. We're still in Goblin Town over here. Check this out. That's not a great looking chart, but it's a chart showing potential, showing some optimism, especially if you zoom in on the more recent prices here. A little bit of a higher low here. A higher low was formed. Crazy to think that PulseChain is up, 50, 60% from its low points, from its all-time lows. And of course, I think we're just getting started. Even Ethereum hasn't broken its all-time high. Bitcoin only has because of institutional buying. So I'm positioned in this new blockchain ecosystem because PLS is a clone of Ethereum. They both use what's called the EVM machine, the Ethereum virtual machine. Okay, this is technology it's like the Netflix to Bitcoin, the blockbuster. Okay, it's like what is PulseChain like? There's metaphors we can make. PulseChain and Ethereum are like the DVD player. Bitcoin is like the VCR. Or you could say Bitcoin is like Netscape, right? And PulseChain and Ethereum are like Google and maybe Firefox, maybe Brave. They're different brands of the same underlying technology, PulseChain and Ethereum. And we know Ethereum's highly useful, the digital oil. And there's this westward digital expansion, right? We're all fighting for this new digital land to stake our claim on. And PulseChain's brand new. I mean, it's 2 years old as opposed to Ethereum, which is 10 years old. But it's the same tech. And the cool thing about PulseChain is that if good stuff gets upgraded into Ethereum, because it's the same underlying tech, PulseChain can wait and see if the updates to Ethereum were useful and good, and it can absorb those, and it can choose whether or not to adopt the new innovations, and it doesn't have to be the guinea pig. Now, Ethereum does have the best developers, the best roadmap. It's got a great founder, Vitalik. But we benefit from that in that Ethereum is the test net for PulseChain. So it's actually more secure in a way when you think about it. And none of these coins here are reinventing the wheel. These are very locked and isolated, audited smart contracts. Hex hasn't been hacked in 5 years. It's been audited twice. PulseX, the coin's never been hacked. It's like Uniswap. If Uniswap had a useful buy and burn token attached to it. INC, who knows, might be a voting token one day, just a fun little side bet. But just think about the fact that Mr. Powell here is having a pretty bad day. And hopefully that means that very soon we won't have to. We've suffered through 2 years of brutal bear, maybe even 3, depending on where you start it. And it's about time that I guess everybody is putting the pressure on Mr. Money Printer guy, who is Jerome Powell. That's all you need to know. This man controls the interest rates at the Federal Reserve. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And that's the whole entire thing that crypto is trying to replace. Okay, the crypto economy, the parallel economy that you are buying a piece of. Okay, this is like the Louisiana Purchase. It's like you're Lewis and Clark. You're going west, but in the digital, you're buying into a new digital country that's replacing the archaic analog dollar, which also has, digital dollars, USDC, but it's in shambles. Okay, this chart does not look good, and it's probably not going to get better. The government has a spending problem. They don't have a taxing problem. They have a debt problem, and you can watch like the debt clock. Here's the national debt clock. If you ever just want to freak yourself out, look at this number right here. The tax revenue is going up at about $5 trillion. But what's going up faster? The national debt at $37 trillion. This trend is very predictable. Okay, governments are not going to spend less in the future. They're always just going to spend more. No matter how much you want Doge to work. Hey, look, Doge, they got their own clock here. Doge is trying its best, but I don't really have faith that government spending cuts are going to work in the long run. I have more faith that building parallel financial economy like Ethereum, like PulseChain, and capturing the price opportunity before the Federal Reserve even lowers the rates is going to be the solution in the long term. So try to envision a future where you're not actually dependent on the dollar. All right, and the Fed meets in 5 days. It looks like, what do you know? They're not even going to lower rates, probably, unless we get a surprise. So because they're not lowering the rates, lower rates means money is easier to get. It's easier to borrow money. It's easier to go buy and invest in new projects and build things and start companies. It all starts with a federal funds rate. Now, before the end of the year, let's take a look. December predicts that at least 2 rate cuts. There's probably a 50% chance of 2 rate cuts and an 80 or 90% chance of at least 1 before the end of the year. So we've still got time. We've still got time. You don't need to panic. In fact, it's probably never been more clear that you are still early to build your position. So if you're new to crypto and you're wondering why we all care about this guy so much, that's why we care. Okay, this guy controls the old world economy, and all that extra money that they print out of thin air, it has to flow somewhere. It has to flow to people that are controlling the main resource of nowadays, which is attention. The main resource when we're all competing for digital land is attention. It's an attention economy. It's one step after an information economy. It's now an attention economy. So I'm invested in PulseChain. That's only one reason why. But we're still here with a solid tech, community founder, doing the marketing with consistency and persistence and a long-term vision, many, many year vision. So I'm finally starting to feel a little bit of optimism But that is what's going on in the world today. Like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. Also, if you're brand new to crypto and you don't know how to do it, check out my course, Hacks Passive Income. It'll give you the confidence to do crypto the right way. How to take control of your own seed words, how to set up a wallet, how to buy, how to sell, all the strategy, the mindset. Check that out really before it's too late. By the time the Federal Reserve is lowering rates, like prices are going to be shooting up. You might wish that you were paying attention to stuff like this. See you on the next one.